Welcome to Therapy Coaching in Dreams. I am D. Kelly, and we are jumping back into the middle of a conversation on vocational trauma. This is part 2, and so glad you've joined us. So very simply, in the moment, anxiety levels just jump up so fast. What's going to happen to our healthcare? What's going to happen? I've got to cancel the family vacation. I've got, all kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
So just some real simple things, Jim, when somebody has this, it's not always momentary. Sometimes it lasts a while, but this spike in anxiety because of vocational something that's happened. And again, you can't just say, okay, now calm down.
Oh, you can, then you get punched. So
That's right. But what are just a couple simple things people can do in the midst of that heightened anxiety?
Yeah, the first thing is really just to get grounded. Deep breathing exercises, something that just grounds them in the moment. It's so crucial. It's like if you notice people unconsciously, they'll sigh. They'll do that, and that's the body basically trying to cope with what's happening. So a lot of really good breathing. And then it's just to sit with people and say, okay, where's your mind going? What's the biggest fear? This, okay. Well, what if that happens? What would you do? You kind of try to take them through step by step of their biggest fear on some level, or just what's causing the anxiety in the moment, and trying to sit with them and saying, okay, well, there are other options. But mainly the first thing is to calm down their whole system to be able to process anything. And deep breathing typically does that. A lot of men will look at me like, "What? What are we doing? We're breathing?" You go, "Yeah." But I think, to your point, do you have any other suggestions?
I agree with you that it feels like some people look at you sideways like, what? This is it? This is your solution? Is to breathe?
That's so true.
But I remember in graduate school listening to a professor that I respected, and either the class or the section was on stress and stress management. And this was early on in the course itself. But he said, I hope you have your notepad out. I'm going to give you the number one rule of stress management. And, I'm a graduate student, but fairly new to this whole thing. And so I'm just ready to jot down pages of response.
That's wisdom coming out.
And he followed that by saying the first rule of stress management is breathe. And this long dramatic pause. But I thought that was like the joke that was going to then lead into the rest of stuff. And he began, just like you said, it's the body's response to stress. And very often, whether we notice it immediately or not, higher levels of anxiety cause us to literally hold our breath.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I in more recent times, sometime within the last year, I had actually never heard of the phrase, allow your tongue to drop. And very often the tongue is pressed up against the roof of the mouth that holds your breath. That's the way you hold your breath. And when tensions rise, the tongue presses up and seals off the breathing through the mouth. And that's the place where a lot of people hold tension, hold anxiety. And so allowing your tongue to drop is part of the process of breathing deeply and allowing the tension to come out for moments. I mean, when anxiety's high, it's going to come back. You're going to find yourself tensing up within the few minutes. But to pay attention to breathing, to realize that we figuratively and literally hold our breath when something bad has happened.
Yeah. And the next thing is, like, if depending on what it is, I might say, is there a phone call you need to make? Is there someone you need to talk to? Something, again, to make them more present. Well, I need to tell my...
Because you're not going to talk to them? Do we need to get somebody
Absolutely.
on the line who will actually listen
I got
to
nothing.
this?
Maybe you want to call this person. You got a lifeline?
Somebody who's a little more empathetic than I am is...
Yeah, no, that really sucked. Here's some, you got any numbers you can call? Give you a phone. Uh,
You're a professional. You're good at
yeah.
this.
Oh, yeah, I know when to, hold 'em and fold 'em, whatever that song is. I didn't quite meet in a session, but hey, I suppose I suppose that could be could be helpful.
Mm,
The point being is take a little bit of where can you take some control?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's great.
Mhm.
I also think, again, it doesn't sound initially like it's productive at all, but can you get outside, take a walk, take a hike, get in contact with something that's larger than your job?
A absolutely true. Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I also
But again,
encourage.
that's personality driven. Back to our stir thing. What's it called? Stir
Our STIR model of personality.
stir model. Yes. So thank you. Yeah, each one of those people are going to handle it differently.
Yeah.
The stabilizer is going to be probably freaking out the most because it's like there's no more order, there's no more certainty. The masculine typically doesn't handle it well. Feminists are relationally driven. So, okay, what can I do here?
Yeah.
I mean, the
Um,
transformer could go, crazy and, start just being impulsive, but all of them, each one of them would handle it a little bit differently.
I think, though, being sensitive to how you view the world, I mean, it certainly helps the person who's dealing with the individual, but the individual, him or herself, if they are aware of their natural bent, when stress levels rise, we tend to retreat to that which is most familiar. So our dominant personality style is going to leap to the front of response mode
Right. Yep.
when anxiety levels go up. And so being aware of what your natural response is, and sometimes it's not just a personality style, but do you have a tendency to catastrophize?
Mhm.
Okay, I know that in this moment, I've talked about this. This is my tendency. And I'm going to have the propensity to just think the world is going to collapse and life is over as I know it.
Mhm.
Or I have the tendency to minimize.
Yep.
And so my spouse is going to feel traumatized by my loss,
Mhm.
and I'm going to try and calm everything and minimize it. But that may not be the healthiest. Maybe I need to carry some of the weight as this is a big deal. So I think that self awareness doesn't always come naturally. So it's often good to have somebody who can remind you of those things.
Mhm. It's very true. It's again using the stir model. It's like obviously, if an initiator loses his job, he's going to find a job because he's just going to do it. And at the expense of his fear might drive him to take a job that is in a different state, which could cause trauma to the family. A transformer would go, "Oh, I lost my job. Oh, okay, cool." Typically married to a stabilizer, so they would probably try to push him. But unconsciously, the transformer, the natural match is the stabilizer. So at some point, he or she has to kick into the stabilizer and realize, okay, this is serious. I have to do something here. But initially, the transformer could be relieved because they didn't really like the job anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the responder, the feminine, the responder is that they would typically think, okay, oh, man, I must have not done a good job at all. I got fired. I can't believe that. I must really screwed up. They might personalize it to that point, and then it can cause a real reaction to their just sense of self in that sense.
Yeah. The grief can cause them to freeze.
Right. Hmm.
Yeah.
And to feel like I let people down, or that typical responder is kind of an enabler, so they would feel like, how did I get fired? Jeez. And usually those people would get fired because of a downsizing, not because their performance was bad, because they typically perform pretty well. So.
Here's what I've dealt with on several occasions with responders is that after having been let go or a dramatic shift in their employment, they feel responsible to care for the person that's going to replace them or care for the organization.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. That's
And I, I feel like it's important to point out that the organization has a life of its own. You don't need to care for it. It is going to move forward, and it's going to move forward without you. and you need to
Yeah,
take care of yourself in these moments.
absolutely, because that really is the challenge, is to get them to focus on themselves and say, "Okay,
Yeah,
what would it be like to take that energy and take care of you?"
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't want the next person to come in and not know what to do and not know the job. Okay, that's overfunctioning, perhaps.
Before we bring this discussion to a close, I want to move from a kind of worst case scenario. The world feels like it just got blown up by the fact that my job took a dramatic shift or I lost my job, to some of the subtle things that happen in a workplace where there's a new boss or there's a new employee that changes the entire dynamic of the workplace, or a complete change in job description because there's been a disruption to the industry. Those kinds of things that move from what feels like a real settled work life to a very unsettled work life. And I think that sometimes that can be a real chronic stressor when a person's work group is not in harmony.
Oh,
Like
absolutely. Yep.
they dread staff meetings, they
Mhm.
dread confrontation, going to work is not a fun thing.
Right, and they simply just don't like someone,
Right.
and they have to work with them in their team or whatever. Yeah.
I really do think that those moments, that awareness of personality styles and the needs of someone else can help you manage
Mhm.
situations so much better. For example, if you have a supervisor who hungers for information over and over again, and you like to work kind of on your own, give me a lot of rope,
Mhm.
let me do my own
Yep.
thing.
Mhm.
If you don't recognize the need to keep a supervisor informed, you're going to have a horrible work life.
Yep, you are. 'Cause you have if he's a supervisor, you have to tend to them and their bias, or
Yeah.
to your point, you're absolutely gonna be frustrated. That's a great point. And
And I think,
a lot of people get crosswise because they want the supervisor to bend to them. "Just give me
oh,
the
yeah.
space to do a thing because I do my job really well. Just leave me alone." And the supervisor's like, "Well, I need to know." "Well, why do you need to know? I do my job really well." Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I think it's wise for every person to realize that in many ways, your most important customer is your supervisor. So the way in which
I
you would,
can't stand my supervisor.
that's right. But if you look at the ways you often do your job to try and care for a customer, one of the ways you supervise your boss is to care for your boss like your boss is a customer,
Yep.
and recognize that. And the more you do that, the more freedom you'll get to work the way you want to work if you learn how to adjust in that way. Yeah.
And that comes back full circle to a freedom, because do I choose to do it or do I resent it and feel like I have to do it? Then my whole workday is screwed up because I'm resenting it as opposed to thinking, "Okay, he's my supervisor. If I don't like it, okay, quit and get a different job or
Yeah.
transfer to another division. Do that." But ultimately, it's like, and a more intense thing is like, how do you how do you get along with a narcissistic personality? Well, you have to serve the narcissism.
Yeah.
And that comes down to a choice that makes you healthier if you like the job, especially. I love the job, so I know I have to do this for this supervisor. I have to over communicate. I have to let them know everything, and I may never get the grace that I want back, but my my day will be much more pleasant.
Yeah. The posture that someone takes when they think the other person's the one that needs to change, I'm doing fine. That posture rarely leads to improvement.
Yes, that was very true. If the world would just cave to my demands, I would
Yeah.
be really happy. Yeah, and that's always the tension, and yeah, I think the adult person really does do that, or they figure out a way to get a different job,
Mhm.
and that's so easy to say because there's so many people that are in situations where they have to have the job because of what I mentioned earlier, health insurance or whatever. They just can't. They're in their late 40s. They've got 2 teenage kids. They've got bills to pay, and they don't like the job, but it's what they've always done. Yeah, it can be really, really challenging.
Yeah. I mean, one of the I don't know that there's much to talk about in regard to this, but if there is work trauma that results in financial difficulties, one of the things that is typically cut out of the family budget or the personal budget is therapeutic help or coaching help because there aren't additional resources or a healthcare plan or whatever it might be. And so very often the thing that is needed is not even available because of those changes. And so learning how to find places to talk through what it is that you're going through is really crucial if some of those resources have been cut off.
Yeah,
Um,
true.
yeah. Support groups,
Hopefully it's been
friendships.
helpful. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hopefully it's been helpful, yeah. There's lots of different directions, and, again, we'd love to have comments on people that have different situations that might we could address too, so.
absolutely. Because it is something that occurs at some point in most people's lives,
Yeah.
vocational issues that create all kinds of problems. So
I mean,
we've
even if you start a company and you own the company or whatever, there are twists and turns with that. The economy could change. You could lose everything. I mean, there's all kinds of different there's no sec there's no certain security in anything that we do in life in some ways.
yes, we often talk about
Maybe inherited wealth.
that has its own set of issues, but
Yes, that's
yes.
absolutely true. Yeah, you're right.
Often with vocational trauma, we often think of things that happen at a higher level affecting us as we are under the umbrella of whatever it is that's occurring. And I don't know that we want to get into it now, but just to acknowledge that sometimes you mentioned somebody who starts a company, you have an employee that creates vocational trauma.
That's true.
They decide to do something that they shouldn't do or to create problems that you had no idea were going to come. And learning
Or
how
they
to
don't show
deal.
or they don't show up to work,
Yep,
yeah,
with no notification.
right.
And you're filling in when you thought you had a day off, and the buck stops with you, and you've got to postpone that vacation or whatever the case might be. Yeah, it's got its own unique challenges, and learning how to deal with those things is the same kind of process, just being self aware and dealing with stress in the immediate and then through what happens long term. What do I need to change the outcomes that I'm currently receiving? So maybe we'll have a chance if some listeners offer some questions, we can dig a little bit deeper into this. But we'll come back in another week and jump into another topic, Jim. It's always great to be with you.
Sounds great. Thanks, D.
You bet. That's it for part 2 of this 2-part series on vocational trauma. Thank you for joining us. Until next time, keep growing, stay curious, and take good care of yourself.
Yeah, no, it's good stuff.